In this video, I'm going to show you how to make an Illustrator design inspired by Kandinsky. So start in Google and Google Kandinsky, Wasily Kandinsky, and look at his paintings. See if there's one that looks interesting to you. And we're going to be inspired, recreate it generally in Illustrator. So I've chosen this one here. And I'm going to go over to Illustrator, and it's a vertical painting, so I'm going to make a vertical document, artboard. I'm going to click on New File. Letter is probably fine. I'm just make sure that it's vertically oriented. And it's good to check that it's big enough. This put it into inches, and I see it's 8.5 by 11. Yours might be horizontal or a slightly different shape. All right, I'm going to pop over to Illustrator now, and I notice that I'm actually going to click on this so I can see it a little bit larger. I see that it sort of has a dark red background, so I'm going to start there. And again, this is just an inspiration. It does not have to be exact, but I'm going to use my rectangle tool. I'll be using a lot of shape tools in here. I'm going to do a gradient because I did notice there was sort of dark red into black color. I'm going to double click. So what I did is I clicked on this linear gradient, and this pops up. If I double click on the white, I can choose a color. If it's just showing black and white, go over to these three dots and use your get to the RGB. And I'm going to do a nice dark red to black, and maybe it was kind of here's a great radial gradient, but if the third one here, I can actually double click in here and change the colors and sort of make it a little bit more organic, which I feel might work really well for this. Here's another square I can go to. Maybe I'll pick kind of a darker black over here, maybe even go into a little bit of purple. You know, because remember, it does not have to be exact. This is just inspired by. Go over here and pick another nice dark red. Okay, that's going to be my background. I'm going to go over back to Google here, and I want to show you how to use opacity. We haven't used that in Illustrator, so I'm going to focus on this little area here. Notice how these squares sort of interact and kind of look transparent, or like you can see these sort of stripes going through these other arcs. So I'm going to sort of play around with that idea so I can show you a couple different tools. So I'm going to go back to my rectangle tool, and I'm going to make a series of rectangles like we saw in that painting. I'm just going to sort of overlap a few. I'm going to go back. He uses a lot of sort of primary colors here, reds, blues, and yellows. So maybe I'll stick with that kind of. And I'm just going to go over to my fill, and I'll pick a red. Maybe this one will be red. So here is where the opacity lives, and I don't know if you've probably haven't noticed that before, but I'm going to select a few of these shapes by holding down the Shift key. So now I have a few of these shapes selected, and I'm going to go over to opacity and move this slider down, and you can see now we can kind of see through those shapes. And that gives us sort of a similar feel to what we're seeing in the Kandinsky painting. The other tool I wanted to show you how to use was the curvature tool. And it looks like the pen tool that has this sort of little curve coming out of it. And you can watch the video on how that works. You're going to click, and it's going to automatically sort of fill in the curved shape until you go back to that beginning. All right, and you can see I'm going to try that exactly thing. So in this Kandinsky painting we have some curves at the bottom, so I'll start doing that. So remember how this works. Click, and then I'm letting go, I'm not touching anything, and then I'm clicking again, and I'm kind of imagining where I want my curve to go. But the curvature tool just sort of fills in the gaps. I'm not really drawing this, I am just clicking, and then I'm going to come back to the beginning, and the curvature tool fills in those curved areas. Always go back to the beginning though, okay? Maybe I'll do another little curved thing here. And the more you do this, the more you'll sort of see and predict what curve the tool is going to turn into. And maybe I'll put one over here just to sort of balance things out. So I do want you to play around with the curvature tool in this assignment, just so you get familiar with it. Let's see, I don't want them all to be blue. Maybe I'll fill this one in with that red to sort of balance things out and bring down the opacity because I don't like it so bright. Okay, now I'll go back to the painting and see what else we have. We've got a lot of straight lines, so maybe I'll play around with that. Go to the rectangle tool. Of course, there's circles here, all kinds of things, but I'll go to the line segment tool and click and drag. Maybe I'll make this stroke a little bit larger. And I could select it, copy, Command C, Command V, and paste it. And just keep playing until you have a composition that you feel is similar in shape and color to your Kandinsky painting.